Well, hello. It has been a long time. I think the last time we were together, it was like October of 2024, and it is currently the 22nd of February. So I am sorry about the inconsistency after having a second child. And I was in a really good rhythm as Everest got older. And I plan to keep this up. And I know I've said that and then fell away a little bit, but I have been thinking about y'all and about podcasting so much. I have several ideas in the works here. My drink of choice tonight is water and boba tea, taro flavored. Delish. My favorite is taro. I am watching a Lakers game in and out of this podcast tonight. Well, I'm going to take a pause from the Laker game tonight. We are winning. We're beating the Nuggets. So I felt like right now was a good time to step away and record and talk to y'all. Yeah, I have a few different ideas coming up about podcasting, so I'm going to have a goal of podcasting once a week and get something out each week. And right now I am learning French and keeping up with my Spanish. I'm really mostly working on Spanish. I did start French as well, which is very exciting. I also have goals of doing 15 minutes of guitar every day. I haven't been so good at guitar because I also have like goals of I'm reading a ton of parenting books right now, like a ton. I just finished bringing Up Bebé, which is what I wanted to talk to you about tonight. It's a French way of parenting, and that's what tonight's podcast is about. So, but I also am reading Parenting Toward the Kingdom. It's a Greek Orthodox. It's an Orthodox type Christian parenting, which is very interesting. I'm also reading Scream Free Parenting, which sounds really interesting. I'm also reading Baby-Led Weaning, which I'm kind of just already kind of doing with Eden. And I kind of do that with Everest, but at the same time, I fed him, so I kind of did a mixture of both, like traditional feeding as well as baby-led weaning. And I'm not very, like, on top of it with Eden, honestly. Like, she has not tried very many foods, and I'm kind of lax with it. Just because, I don't know, she was gagging for the longest time whenever I would give her food. So I kind of just stopped for a while to see, like, she did eat banana tonight and she was fine, like, but baby-led weaning, I didn't mush it up. I think she has issues with mushing it up. But yeah, tonight's podcast is about the way French people parent in comparison to American folk that when they're parenting. American parenting versus French parenting. It's so fascinating to me. The differences is insane. She introduces the book of like her on vacation, and she notices her daughter is like going crazy, isn't eating the meal. Her daughter's throwing food everywhere. She's like, I don't know, 1 or 9 months or 1 or something. And then she notices she can barely sit still, is like wanting to run around and leave her seat, whereas she looks around and all the French kids are sitting in their seats. They're not dropping food on the floor. They're eating all their food, and they're conversing with their parents in a really amazing way. And then she goes on to say how babies start sleeping very early on when they're born, and how kids are extremely polite and attentive and sage, like controlled, content is kind of that word. Before I get into any more, that was the intro of the book kind of, and it just like caught my attention. Like, how are these kids so well behaved? She asks, like, are they being threatened? Are they like, why are they acting this way? Which also caught my attention, like it was an amazing intro. And I wanted to know more about what she was talking about, because we have a lot of these same issues with Everest, and she explains how a lot of American families have these issues, and then she starts the book. Let me just say what the internet says about French parenting, just overarching versus American. French parenting tends to be more structured, with the focus on establishing clear boundaries and expectations, encouraging independent play, and prioritizing social graces, while American parenting often involves more immediate gratification and hovering, and a heavier emphasis on praise and individual achievement. French parents are generally seen as more relaxed in their approach, allowing children more autonomy once boundaries are set, while many American parents might be more actively involved in managing their child's schedules and activities. French parenting emphasizes autonomy, clear boundaries. This was another source. Clear boundaries and a belief in children's inherent capacity for learning and self-control, while American parenting is often prioritizes constant guidance and praise, sometimes at the expense of independence. I will say they put down a lot of American ways of thinking and ways of parenting and the way that we do things. And she herself is an American living in France. Yeah. I will say I didn't come away from reading this book feeling super inspired. There's a few things I took away, but well, let me just go down the information. I will explain the information and then I'll talk about it after. Because there was a lot of stuff where I was like, oh my gosh, like this is amazing. Like I'm going to do all of this. And then, well, you'll see. Okay, sleep. Babies in France, including newborns. Okay, babies that are newborns and normally 2 to 4 months start sleeping through the night, right? Some babies, she explained, as their newborns, start sleeping through the night as they leave the hospital, completely through the night. And this caught my eye, whereas Americans like co-sleep or rock the baby to sleep or sing and dance and bend over backwards to help the baby. And Americans view it as that's just part of when you have a new baby. And parents always say, like, people before you have a new baby, that's just how it's gonna be. Like, you're not gonna get sleep. Get ready to have no sleep for as long as you can remember. And okay, good. I muted it for a second because I wanted to take a drink, and maybe that's a little okay, but sometimes I don't. Yeah. Anyways, it's very interesting. So, how did they do this? Well, when they explain it, I'm like, okay, Well, I'll explain it. Even from in the hospital, the French observe. They call it observing their children very carefully. So once they start crying, they pause, and the lady in the book called it the pause. They wait and start to observe their child very, very carefully to see what the baby is saying, and the baby is saying something to the parent, and the parents are trying to understand what they're saying. And they believe that even newborn babies and 2-month and 4-month-old babies can understand at what's going on, and they can make decisions at this age. Like they're capable, and they're learning, and they understand. And so French parents talk to their babies, but I feel like Americans do that too. There is some stuff where I'm like, oh, Americans do that too. But they pause, so they don't just go run and pick up the baby, whereas Americans often, especially newborns, as soon as the baby starts crying, go run and pick up the baby to try to help them. Whereas French parents will wait a few minutes. Sometimes she explained how one lady even waited 5 to 10 minutes in the hospital with a newborn to pick them up, to carefully observe the baby. And I believe this baby also started sleeping through the night immediately from the hospital. But she explains, sorry my yawn, she explains how babies have a sleep cycle. Well, all humans, I'm gonna grab something, so if I'm making a little bit of noise, I apologize. Babies have a sleep cycle, and people have a sleep cycle from 90 minutes to 2 hours, okay? Every 90 minutes to 2 hours, your sleep cycle ends, right? I'm gonna move something around because my back is hurting, so there, much better. Now the microphone is right at my face. Perfect. I bet you can hear better even. And so every time that 90 minutes to 2 hours hits, you wake up. Now, as adults, we've learned to connect our nights or our cycles, so we don't notice it. But you do technically wake up, but you don't notice it. Whereas babies wake up and they don't know what to do with that. They just get frustrated and like, I want to go to bed. Whatever. And so the pause allows babies to, in my opinion, it's low-key letting the baby cry it out. But, sorry, there was like Friends in my thing. I don't know if you remember what Friends was when you were a kid, but in my opinion, when I told it to Caleb, he was like, basically, you're letting your baby cry it out. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of what I got from it. But she says in the book, she describes crying it out, and the French kind of like, she says they look queasy from it, like when people explain it. So French don't really like that. But the pause, I mean, they don't like, if the crying intensifies, they go pick up the baby and they go take care of the baby. Whereas crying it out, you don't come back, you let them cry it out. But if you're doing this with a newborn or a 2 to 4 month old baby, you're probably not waiting that long before they go to sleep. And doctors don't really recommend sleep training until after 6 months. Here, whereas in Paris, they are basically letting a newborn cry it out. And I don't know how a newborn could go through the night without eating. Like, that's from day one when your milk hasn't even come in. That doesn't really sound so healthy now that I think about that. I honestly wouldn't want a newborn to sleep through the night myself. I don't think, I don't know. I mean, if they're having newborns sleep through the night, I just don't know how that would go. But especially when your milk hasn't come in. But again, not again, for the first time, French moms don't nurse that long, maybe 2 to 4 months as well. Which again, if you're not nursing, I noticed that with Everest, the moment we weaned him, he started sleeping through the night, and he was eating food, obviously. So if you are weaning your baby at 4 months, yeah, he's gonna sleep through the night because you weaned him, and he's fully eating food then. So of course they're gonna sleep through the night that time. But American moms, families, I mean, the trend is that we nurse for as long as we can handle, you know. And American moms, people know that we want to give the baby breast milk. Now, people often will say, formula or breast milk. Excuse me. Okay, I'm back. I just needed to drink something and not be like having to drink all quiet and subtle. I just wanted to drink. Yeah. But anyways, what was I gonna say? Boy, that was weird. Did you hear that? Sorry about the pauses in this podcast. She explained how doctors tried to explain to French moms that nursing is better for the child than formula. But the French families, people say that they're the same, that there's no difference, and they don't believe it. Whereas we in America know that the breast milk from the mom is the very best thing. Like, if people are unable to nurse, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with you and you're a good mom. So hopefully you can at least pump, even if you are unable to nurse. The milk is formulated for your baby, and your body recognizes your baby, and all these, there's like so much science about how good your breast milk, if you're the mom, is for your baby. And a formula, made a a synthetic version of what your body makes is never going to compare to what your body originally can make for your baby. Which is why I think doctors really push just pump, even if you can, or mix, or do a combination. If you do a combination, at least they're getting some milk, you know what I mean? So, yeah. But not everybody's able to, so, and that's okay, it's okay. Yeah. I just find the sleep thing fascinating. Okay, next is childcare. They have access to high quality subsidized childcare in France that allows more parents to return to work without feeling pressure to stay home with their children, which can be a difference from the American experience. Well, I mean, I grew up where my mom worked, and she stayed home for a little while, and then we went to daycare after a while. I think when my little brother was born, when Kenny was born, my first brother. So I think my mom was home with my sister and I, and then she worked from home, or like, I think she sold things or something. She did some job that she could be at home, kind of. Not like on the computer, obviously, because I'm too old for that. They didn't have work from home like that. well, kind of, because she was like, anyways, it was like a company with kids' toys or something. Anyway, she was able to work from home, and then she went back to work. So we went to daycare, and so these in France, I mean, I think a lot of people today want to be stay-at-home moms, and I think that's kind of a trend, or maybe that's just my circle of friends want to be stay-at-home moms, if they're able to. And but in France, they, like, you have to think like how French people think. They hold value their own life. Like like the parents have their own life together and separate, and they're allowed to have secrets. And the children are wanted, encouraged to have their own lives separate from their parents, and they're allowed to have secrets. And this is another thing I just finished on the book. And they talked about how, like, French people don't tell another French people when they misbehave or do things wrong, or when things happen that people shouldn't do and someone witnesses it. They won't tell on the person, or like rat them out, essentially. Like, even as kids, it's like a cultural thing to, like, not, like, they figure out the dispute on themselves. They don't go tell somebody else and have somebody else figure it out, which is interesting. I don't know, like, they believe that they should be able to work it out themselves, that they should be able to defend themselves, they should be able to, not necessarily like fighting, but like work it out, like defend themselves with words or whatever. Stand up for themselves, you know. And where in America, parents are extremely quick extremely quick to jump in and save your child, or save the child from whatever is going on, from either another kid or whatever. And I mean, I'm so guilty of this. We were at a trampoline park in Denver, Colorado, and oh no, I'll give a better example. Once we were at a wedding recently, and Everest was like 2.5. It was this past summer, and these like 8-year-old girls were like, one girl was like, he's just a baby. Like, you can tell by the way he talks. Like, he's such a baby. And Everest was just looking at them. Like, you knew he understood. But they were kind of not bullying him to his face, but like being mean to him, you know? And what in that case, I would love to see what French people do. Like, just let a child that is 6 years older than your child can barely walk, and you're gonna let them bully them. Like, I just don't think that's a good thing. I mean, maybe if the kid is older, maybe you would hope that they would be able to, or if I could watch from far off. Which in a way I was watching from far off, you know. Um so I mean, I don't know. To let a 2-year-old just figure it out with a bunch of 8-year-olds or older kids that are older, all ages, is just, I don't know, it just didn't seem, I don't know. I don't know if that would fly in France. Anyways. But they do want them to have a lot of autonomy, to be able to have their own person, their own. Oh wait, this isn't even childcare. I'm so sorry. So childcare, they put their kid in like government funded childcare, and hardly anyone stays at home. Is like a stay at home mom there. maybe it's more common now because maybe it wasn't back in the day, even in America, and now it's like super common in America even. So okay, I'm not so sick anymore. I was really struggling to record this at the time. So this, like, the subsidized childcare allows France parents and mothers to return to work without feeling pressure to stay home with their children, which can be a difference from the American experience. I do find it interesting, these child care facilities are government funded, like I said before, and they are high end. Like, these children are eating like 4 or 5 course meals, you know, and they're exquisite, like blue cheese, like I know blue cheese isn't like high end, but like the meals that they talked about were like goat this, you know, salad with blue cheese and high end cheeses, like a blue cheese dressing, or like some high end vinaigrette or balsamic, like very advanced palates. But the children learn to eat it with an advanced palate in France. Like, they don't have them eating chicken nuggets and hot dogs. I've heard that the reason that American families have struggle and kids struggle to have a little bit more advanced palate, or they have such basic palates, is because of all the sugar that they consume. And there's so much sugar in our foods and the types of sugars, and children will go back to eating like a variety of foods, where Everest ate everything I gave him when he was brand new as a kid, as a baby, like 1 and 2, like 1 up to 2. And then after 2 he started eating more sugar, and then all he wanted was like really like what all the American kids eat, is like chicken nuggets and hot dogs, and yeah. Although he doesn't eat mac and cheese, which is bizarre. He is not a fan, which I'm okay with, because I don't really want to be eating mac and cheese anyways. And we don't really buy hot dogs because I don't really like those. And we don't really buy chicken nuggets because I don't want him eating chicken nuggets. But he does eat chicken nuggets a lot when we go out to eat. However, I wish he would go back and eat the things that I gave him. Like, he was eating a wide variety of foods, and often foods that we were eating ourselves we would just give to him. Now, in these subsidized, like government owned, like child care places, the kids are having the full 4-course meal. They have like a person that is designated to them, and multiple teachers, so they are getting a lot of attention. They're not just left to fend for themselves, to possibly get bullied like I did at childcare that wasn't government owned, you know what I mean? Sorry, that was kind of loud. Oh, that's like a humming noise. I'm sorry about that. It was the monitor. This is better. Let me get a little closer to the mic. Ooh. Yeah. I'm gonna try to bring you up a little higher here. Yeah. Also, the American, not all Americans, but however, I have found a lot of my personal friends have begun to desire to be a stay-at-home mom. And in the book, this was in 2012, they kind of looked down on a stay-at-home mom, that it's not good for the woman to be a stay-at-home mom, that she needs her own life as well. And, I mean, everyone is different. But I also believe that once you have children, I think that the parents should raise the children. I have friends that put their children in child care, even if it was a family member, and they were hardly around their own parents. They were basically raised by whoever in their family even that watched them. Their parents weren't really the one. Like, the people that they put in charge of their children potty trained them. They taught them social skills. They taught them how to behave or not behave. They were literally formed by these people that weren't their parents. And I understand if you need to, I've said this before in another podcast, like, if you need to have two people working, because our culture is designed to have two people working, two incomes. But if at all possible, I listened to this podcast that talked about, if at all possible, let me finish my sentence, to live below your means in a way that one parent can work and one parent can stay home and raise the children. Now, that might be hard for some women to understand because our culture is very much geared towards women having their own lives as well. However, I do think American culture is admiring and seeing the value of a stay-at-home mom. Also, that could be partly due to the way that our school systems are going, where they are trying to indoctrinate our children with garbage, woke, specifically garbage that is garbage. So parents are wanting to take it on themselves and homeschool, whereas I don't know that I think it came across my mind and but it felt very overwhelming. It's still not like, oh my gosh, I can do this type of thing for homeschooling, but it's more of like, I need to do this for the sake of my children type of thing for homeschooling. Anyways, but I do think that our culture is leaning towards stay-at-home moms and seeing the value of a stay-at-home mom more and more. And it may be hard on women, maybe millennial women, just because our culture, we've been taught and indoctrinated to go to school and get a degree and have your own job and then fulfill that big thing in your life. And whereas I felt recently in my own personal walk with the Lord that I personally don't need something big to accomplish in my life. Sure, have always been a person that has wanted to achieve goals and to achieve, I have lots of projects. You can ask my husband or anyone in my family. I have lots of goals that I'm doing, whether it's big or small. I learned how to make those chunky blankets, so I was making chunky blankets for everyone in my family, in my immediate family, my kids and my husband and stuff. And around Christmas time, and that was my goal. I still haven't finished my husband's, but I have 2 rolls left. And then there was I'll do projects that are these are small minuscule things, but I always like to have something in front of me. In the past it was running a marathon. In the past it has been learning to wakeboard, learning to I don't know, play college basketball. It has been to do marketing, to, I don't know, right? I love growing my YouTube channel. It's just little stuff like that keeps me going and gives me something to look for and to work towards. And when it comes to YouTube, I don't really have a goal in mind necessarily. I just want to keep moving forward. I just want to keep growing. when it comes to growing in my relationship with the Lord, like, I just want to know him and him to know me and us to know each other intimately. And I want to be constantly growing. I just want to grow more in fellowship with him, like, I don't know that I really have a goal except to know him and to be with him, if that makes sense. But these things keep me moving forward and keep me fighting and keep me having something that I look forward to. As a mom that is staying home and I'm no longer working, a mom that went to school and played college basketball and studied abroad and got a college degree and had all these dreams and goals and things that I thought I for sure was going to accomplish. And I still can do these things, and I hope to accomplish different things. I think one thing that I would love to do is to travel a lot later on in life, or when the kids are a little bit older, because I am just excited about exploring. However, I do not want to travel as much right now when I have small children, because sickness, or just I don't care to do that. I don't have that desire right now. But I would like to do that as my children grow older. I would probably like to skydive, like different stuff like that as my children grow older. Anyways, that's besides the point. All that to say, I do still have goals and different things that I want to do, but they are on a much smaller scale. I want to keep in shape. I want to eat healthy. I want to feel good. I want to be writing down in my journal each and every day, like the one-line journal. I'm learning Spanish and I'm learning French. Well, I'm continuing on in Spanish. I know Spanish, but I need to always learn, and I can always learn more of the language as I am not native. And I also am learning French, and I have a desire to learn other languages like Greek and Arabic, of course, but like French. Anyways, like these different things also are good goals to be, like, take the place, like more like an intense hobby, maybe more than having a job, because all the jobs I ever worked, I never wanted to be doing that anyways. And the moment I would step foot in a job, I've never worked as a mom. Like, I work from home, but I've never like held a corporate job as a mom. And I can't imagine. And if I did, I think it would drive me nuts. And I would think, oh, all I want to do is be home with my children and be raising my children. So I am extremely grateful that I have that opportunity to be home. And not everyone does. But I would suggest, if you are in that position where you would like to be a stay-at-home mom, I would suggest look for ways to live below your means. Maybe downsize your home. Maybe downsize your car. Maybe look at budgeting different things in your life, getting rid of different subscriptions, changing what kinds of foods you eat, and eat more simply. These ways, then your budget is going down, and you're not having to work and maintain those jobs, both jobs. You could change your phone plan, lots of different things. The biggest thing would be changing your home. I think that would take care of most things. And then you would maybe potentially only need one income. If you have too big of a home, or a very luxurious home, or even a home that is right at your budget, just go down in your home, like luxuriness, or like how big it is, or whatever, square acres, outside, in land, whatever it is. But that might allow you to stay at home with your children, which is far more valuable than the things that you own, in my opinion. That's just my thoughts right now. Okay, let's move on. This podcast is getting way too long. Discipline. French parents tend to use more firm, consistent discipline with clear consequences, whereas American parents might utilize more positive reinforcement and negative negotiation tactic. I do see that like a negotiation tactic. I think a lot of American parents particularly are wanting to do like gentle parenting, which is fine. And, I really don't know where I stand. I think this is the hardest thing with parenting for me because I haven't decided or figured out exactly how or where or what I want to do with discipline. Because I just feel very vulnerable in this situation because I don't know how I want to discipline exactly. We've tried a lot of different things and I've read several books, but I haven't really found what I like, and I'm learning a lot. So this is just a difficult topic for me. But in the book, they will say, the French parents will say no, really affirm is how they said it in the book, very curt. And then kids tend to listen to that. I don't know. I think they do spank. French parents, it's a very general thing, but so you can't just say all French parents, because I'm sure there's a lot of French parents that do things way differently than just the people what they talked about in the book. So, but you know what I mean. As a general cultural something that's accepted. Let's move on. Social skills. French culture places a strong emphasis on politeness and good manners, which are actively taught to children from a young age. They talked about a story where when a child enters for a dinner party or at someone's house, they say bonjour, and then when they leave they say au revoir, and so children are expected to say hello and they are greeted as an individual person, but they are not the center of attention. They'll talk about this later. I probably will talk about it later, how when an American child comes into a room, the whole room stops and everybody just stands around and looks at the child and watches the child. In French homes, this is not the way it is. And in a lot of times in French homes or American homes, kids aren't even acknowledged. The adults are only acknowledged when they first walk in, and kids are not expected to say hello. However, this is something that I really do agree on. From before Everest, when Everest could barely talk, I would shake his hand and look him in the eye and say, "Nice to meet you, Everest. What's your name?" And he would be like, "My name's Everest." And I'd shake his hand. It would be, "Nice to meet you, Everest. Nice to meet you." So now Everest does this to today with Eden. He will shake her hand and say, "Nice to meet you, baby girl. Nice to meet you." So and he's 3 now. So, but looking in the eye is hard for him at this point, and he's 3. So there's that. But I really want to instill in my children good, confident greeting, shaking people's hand with a firm handshake and looking adults in the eye and saying, "Hello, my name is Everest. Nice to meet you." These type of things. "Oh, is a pleasure spending time with you," blah, blah, blah. Just good, solid, confident manners are important to me, and it shows confidence and self-awareness, and yeah. Anyways, I think it's very important. So I do love that about the French culture. It's very looked down on, and that you are not raising your child correctly if children do not say bonjour when you enter a room to all the parents, and if they don't say au revoir, leave, or it's goodbye, when they leave. So important. Independent play. French parents encourage children to play independently for longer periods, while American parents might be more inclined to provide constant entertainment or activities. Yes, that is my struggle. Definitely, but Everest is an only child, so it might be different when he has more siblings, but we are implementing quiet time, which is usually before or after his nap, depending on how it works out. If we don't have time right before his nap, like we are out and about and we get back just for his nap, then he does independent, we call it quiet time, but it's like independent play after his nap. So he'll spend time in a room quietly playing. He can play and do whatever he wants. I mean, not painting or anything, but, playing with his toys. And he's going to play quietly for an hour or so, 30 minutes to an hour in his room alone. And he is the oldest, only Eden is there, but she's not able to play so much yet. And they are getting used to playing next to each other, and that Everest is getting really good at that. He's also getting older. He's turning 4 this year, which is crazy, but not till the end of the year, so he's pretty much just turned 3. But I think that comes with age. But independent play is extremely important in French culture, which I think it's important for Everest to learn, that I don't need to be the person constantly entertaining him, that he needs to figure out how to entertain himself. And Jordan Peterson also mentioned this. Caleb listened to a podcast or maybe a short or something small about how it's so important for children's autonomy and independence to learn how to play by themselves, even if it's just for a short time, and how it helps them mature and grow and be able to be in the quiet silence and figure out what to do. And yeah. Structure and routine. French parents often establish a consistent routine and schedule for their children from a young age, while American parents might be more flexible with meal times and bedtimes depending on the child's needs. Yeah, I can see how that would be in American culture, just flexible or whatever. However, Caleb and I have always had a very strict schedule, at least with Everest, because he was the only child and we were able to do that. With Eden so far, she has had a pretty strict schedule. When we go on vacation, though, we were just out in San Diego, and she did not have a structured schedule at that time, but that was okay. And we were on vacation. We weren't in our regular setting. And so, but when we come back, I'm trying to get them back on their regular schedule. However, it does take a little bit of getting back on, but I do like the schedule. I think it's good for their sleep, and it's good for they thrive on schedule. But I do see how American parenting might be more flexible with meal times. However, I have always been very flexible with meal times because I am not a mealtime person. I'm more of a grazer, and I always have. So I do see how there is good in having a structured mealtime. I think that's really healthy for kids, and I think it does help them to eat better when there's a structure, because I started doing that with Everest this past year after last summer. I saw that he ate really well because my parents have a structured mealtime, and when we were in the summers visiting my parents, we would always eat at a certain time, and Everest ate so much food, more food than I thought he could ever eat. And we were just shocked, why does he eat so much? And it's not like they're eating completely different foods. We were eating avocados and sweet potatoes and whatever kind of beef or whatever, but and rice or something, and he would just inhale that stuff at my parents. But maybe because we were also down at the lake, we were on the golf cart, we're so busy, and it's summer and he's playing, and we're not having time for as many snacks. And then when it's time to eat, and he's so hungry, so that could be part of it too. Anyways, but I think structure is really good for kids. I think it helps them a lot. Let's see. French parenting. Autonomy and independence. French parents believe in allowing children to develop independent and self-reliance, even from a young age. They talked about a little child, children figuring it out. They don't just rush in when there's a disagreement with children. They kind of let them duke it out and figure it out, and children to stand up for themselves. That would be really, really hard for me. However, I do see the value in that. And even if I'm close by, I don't step in, but I'm watching. I think I feel more confident watching and seeing how it plays out, and then helping him learn how to deal with that situation in the future, like coming up and talking to him after it's done, like how to appropriately, not like just stepping in and stopping the situation, but like, okay, you did that, like this, they were rude to you, and then you shut down. I don't know, you know what I mean? Then you shut down, because I can see Everest doing that, where he just kind of takes it. Sometimes, like some kids, like I've seen like one boy like kind of push him or something, and he just kind of like stands there, you know, like freezes. And I would often be like, okay, when that's happening, you come to me or go to his mom and tell them that he's doing that, and the mom or me will deal with it, you know. Or and see, that's the thing, that's the opposite of, that's what I would always say in the past. But like, if he would stand up and say, hey, don't do that. And I've also told him at different times, like, hey, you need to tell them, don't do that, you know, and have them stand back or step back and say, hey, stop that, you know, loudly, so parents can hear and see what's going on. And then you try to tell them, you know, it doesn't make you feel good, stop doing that. So, you know, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. I don't really know. I don't know. Clear boundaries and expectations. They establish clear expectations and rules, teaching children to respect authority and follow directions. Great. Yeah. Clear expectations and rules. They need to respect authority and follow directions. Yeah. I don't know. It's a hard one. That's a hard one. Education. Education over discipline. French parents view parenting as educating children rather than simply implementing punishments or rewards. That is so true. I think American culture really does do punishment or reward. And really, I'm reading a parenting book. It's like a Greek Orthodox, and it's all about parenting toward the kingdom. And it is all about education. Like, everything about raising children is about educating them to do and live like Christ. Like, that is the whole point of parenting, is educating them, not just trying to stop them from having bad behavior. And that was like funny, because in the book they're like, if you haven't figured out by now, the goal of parenting is not to stop your children from misbehaving. And I was like, but it is my goal, you know, like, it is my goal to stop them from misbehaving. But he said, like, it's not the goal. The goal is, because if they're going to learn, they're going to have pushback. I should do a whole nother podcast on this other book I'm reading. It's a parenting book. It's awesome. I probably will. But it's like, it's so up in the air about so many things. Anyways, I don't know if you'll find it helpful or not. I mean, there's stuff I take from it that is really helpful. Anyways, that's not the book I'm reading. We're talking about Raising Bebé, the French parenting book. So it is about education. It's about that they're going to have pushback. Pushback is for them to learn. For them to learn, they're going to have to push back. That's just how they learn. But it's about educating them and teaching them how to live like Christ, and to not just follow their impulses and desires, to have self-control. Focus on self-control. French parents believe that children are capable of learning self-control and managing their emotions. That's similar to what the book I was talking about, like, not just jumping on their impulses and desires, because that, if they do that in the long run or later on in life, that could be completely detrimental and harm your child for life. French parents do less praise, and more focus on behavior. They tend to focus on correcting inappropriate behavior rather than praising every little thing a child does. I think in American culture, we really do praise a lot. And I don't know. I on one hand, I'm like, I don't really see the problem in that. Some people say it could cause, like, a complex. I don't know. I think my grandma said that about me when my parents were praising me, and my parents thought that was the funniest thing. I don't know. Maybe I have one. I don't know. Balance and self-control, self-care. French parents prioritize their own well-being and maintain a balance between motherhood and other aspects of their lives. This goes along with like mothers going back to work, like moms going back to work. They prioritize like intimate time with their spouses, which all of us should, but like when the kids go to bed at 8. But I think a lot of parents, even in America, do that same thing often, and if they don't, they should. But they often will put their kids to like go on a weekend with their school, or a week-long like camp with the school. I just don't think that that's healthy in our society today, because a lot of bad stuff happens these days, and where it might not have happened so much back in the day, even in 2012 when this book was written. However, that is not so great for us as parents, you know, that we don't get that much free time. But between you and your spouse, I think it's good to find that, like, if you are an extrovert, like I'm an extrovert, Caleb often will let me go hang out with friends while he stays home and gets the kids to bed, and then I can stay out later while the kids are asleep, you know, and vice versa. For him, it's like just getting alone and going for a drive, or going to get coffee, or just hang out with one specific person, or just a time where he can get alone with the Lord, whatever it is. But he's more introverted and I'm more extroverted, so we give each other these times where we can just have ourselves, you know, like I need to run, these different things, whatever. Children as mini adults. French parents often treat their children as miniature adults, capable of understanding and participating in adult conversations and activities. They talk about like how kids are not supposed to make a mess down on the floor, like when you're eating, like at French restaurants. Apparently that's like not a thing. That children don't make messes, that they participate in adult conversations at dinner time and eat politely. Whereas in American culture, that doesn't always happen really at all, hardly. I find that very fascinating. That they're expected to understand. And also like that newborns, they talk about how newborns just understand that it's time for them to sleep through the night. I don't know how I feel about that. But let's move on to American parenting. This podcast was not supposed to be this long, and I do apologize. But I hope you're enjoying it. American parenting. Overparenting and helicopter parenting. American parents are often described as being overly involved in their child's lives, sometimes to the point of being a helicopter parent. They talked about like how parents will like, in American parents will like narrate everything that the child is doing at the playground and follow them right behind them. However, I will say I was in California recently, and I saw a like Swiss or Dutch mom who was speaking like Dutch or something, or Swedish, and was following their child. And I saw a grandpa doing the same thing, like a Dutch or Swedish. However, this was like following around their child and talking around their child. Like, I have a hard time not doing this as an American parent. I don't know if that's like a thing. I'm trying to step back and to see, like, observe from a distance and let him figure it out and play for himself. I will say that, like, at the playgrounds here where we live in more of a rural area, and I don't feel the need to follow the child around anymore. But he also is not like one. It's one thing when he was like barely learning to walk, I would follow him around and entertain him myself. He was an only child and he was barely learning to walk. So yes, I did follow him around a lot so he wouldn't eat the rocks and wouldn't run into the swing. So these are a little different. Like now that he's 3, I don't follow him around, and I give him the space and the autonomy to like figure it out and to talk with his friends. But when we were in California, it's like I did stand back, but I also don't know the people that are around us like I did where we live. Like, I know the people that are around us, and there was a lot more people at the playground in California, and it's a bigger playground, and I don't know anyone. And so I did give him space and try to work it out with these boys that were about his age and that were kind of like excluding him at one point. And then I told him to, I let it be for a little bit because I was trying to exercise that standing back deal. And then after a while they weren't like including him, and he wasn't really, he said, "Hi guys," like he tried to like, "Can I play with you?" or something. He said something like that. But then I went up to him, to Everest, and I said, "Ask them and get their attention and say, 'Hi, my name is Everest. Can I play with you guys?'" And he did that. He said, "Hi, my name is Everest. Can I play with you guys?" And he says, "Play with," instead of with. And they said, yeah. And one of the boys was like, "Sure." And then one of the other boys was like, "You can't play with us because you don't have a transformer." And so then he was wanting a car, and we didn't have a transformer. He doesn't have transformers, but he had a car. And then one little kid was like, "You can't play with us because you don't have a transformer. You can only play if you have a transformer." And the boy was like maybe a year or two older. And I was like, after a while, like I let it be. And Everest just wasn't saying anything. He was just kind of quiet. And it kind of bothered me because I was like, didn't know how he was internalizing it, because the little boy was kind of like a little bully, kind of, and so then eventually I was like, "He doesn't have a transformer, but can he still play with you?" And he was like, I don't know. He didn't really want to, but he didn't say no. So I don't know. But then I don't know. But it's so hard to just let it happen, especially when he's like way younger. If he was the same age and they all like loved the Lord, then maybe it would be easier. But anyways, I still have to work on it. But yes, I do think I sometimes overparent, but that is American culture, perhaps. Focus on praise and rewards. American parents often praise children for every little achievement and use rewards to motivate them. I mean, I am so guilty of this. Like when it comes to eating, we will say like, give him a cookie. He'll give you a cookie if you finish all your food. And tonight we had curry and rice, and it was like chicken curry, like coconut chicken curry. And so I want him to have a wide variety of flavors and palate, like a food palate, like a taste palate, whatever. And so we had him eat all the food, and he had to eat it, and he didn't really want to eat it. But then after he was eating it, he kind of like didn't mind it. At first he like kind of spit it out, and he got in trouble and like went in timeout. And then when he came back, it was like he was okay to eat it. And he ate the whole thing. All I gave him, I probably gave him 3 servings of rice and curry and chicken, and he did great. And he finished it all, and he did great. So I don't know. I just don't want him to hate the foods because we make him eat it. And normally I'm like, you just need to try it. But lately he's been just trying it and not eating it. And then he's hungry right before dinner. And I hate to have him go to bed hungry because he's only 3. And I don't know when this right age is to have him go to bed hungry because he won't eat the food. Maybe like 5. I don't know. But we have done that recently. So I don't know. But I'd rather him like eat the food at least. And then at least he's not hungry when it's time for bed. I don't know. Comment below what you think about all this. I'd want to know. Emphasize on fun and play for American parenting. American parents often prioritize fun and play over structure and discipline. I don't know. I think not one over the other, but you need to incorporate it all. Overprotection. American parents tend to be overly protective of their children, sometimes to the point of preventing them on taking appropriate risks. Yes, I do see that recently in culture. Like millennial parents are super overprotective. And I do think children need to take calculated risks with parents nearby. I think that is important, and kids need to learn to take risks, and we need to let them as parents. Guilt and anxiety. American parents often feel guilty and anxious about their parenting choices and constantly seek advice and validation. Oh, that is me to a T. I always feel guilty and feel anxiety about, am I doing the right thing? I don't want to ruin him. Like, I don't want to have him make the wrong decision. Like, I want to just do a good job as a parent, and I do that. And the French parents just don't do that. They're like, I'm not going to be perfect. I know it, and I'm okay with that. And I'll do the best I can, and they just let it go, and they relax, which is something I could learn from. Lack of community agreement. There is often a lack of consensus on what constitutes good parenting in the United States, leading to a sense of judgment and uncertainty. Yeah, I mean, totally. For a long time, and I think there still is in American culture and on Instagram and stuff, where there's like a lot of mom shaming and parent shaming and don't do this and do this. Like if you sleep train, or if you don't sleep train, or if you do baby led weaning or not, or screen time or not, all these things. Like, it's just so much judgment and like red dye 40 and giving kids like horrible things, like mac and cheese and all the ingredients and all the bad things, whatever. I get it. We need to be more careful, but we also need to give ourselves grace. So find the balance in that. Anyways, I hope this was interesting. I hope this was helpful. Maybe it was helpful. Maybe it was just interesting altogether. This has been French parenting versus American parenting. They do put a lot of American parenting down, but I will say American parenting is a work in progress. French parenting sounds like they have it all together and they have everything, but I think that's just a French culture in general, is that they have it all together. And honestly, like, I do love a lot of French culture. It is so beautiful and amazing and sweet and cultured and gorgeous. And I do love American culture too. So to say one is right and one is better, no, I can't. But I do see they did point out a lot of the bad things about American culture and highlighted the French culture. I'm sure if we were to pinpoint all the horrible things about French culture, we totally could do that and tear that apart. But I don't know, really want to. So I hope, if anything, I'm sure most of you are Americans. If anything, there's stuff we can learn from the French culture and way of parenting, and take the gold and leave the bones, leave the garbage, whatever you have you. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.